starting to warm up right now. Direct sunlight is the best thing. You know, but again, make sure the membrane's relaxed. Put this in a, you know, build a little insulation box with a heater in it to warm that stuff up. It'll take you at least an hour or so to get everything set up. Just like we did here, we're going to pretend this is Densdeck primed. This is what you guys are going to be adhering to. So once the Densdeck's out, we're going to basically loose lay the roof. You know, whatever you're going to get in a day, 10, 20, 30, 40 squares, whatever, you're going to lay it out loose over the Densdeck. Make sure the Densdeck's swept, clean, dry, all that good stuff. Then you're going to loose lay this, fold it back in half. I've seen guys do it, you know, where they'll kick the roll out, cut it to length, and then roll it up and stagger the rolls back. You're just asking for trouble if you do it that way. I've done a lot of these, and it can be a real big pain in the butt, but this is the easiest way I've ever seen to do it. You're protecting what you haven't adhered yet, and you're giving, so you basically have a dirty work area and you have a clean work area. You have guys that are just getting dirty and walking on what can get dirty, guys that are staying on the clean side. So make sure this is warm. We didn't have a chance to warm it up. Make sure you check the top. You can see that it's got a slight skin to it on the top of this, so you don't really want to use that. And again, look how thick the material is. It's real important to get your trowel or your squeegee at the proper angle. You can see how much adhesive has been left behind. That's the perfect amount. Now if you take your trowel or your squeegee and you flatten it out, look how inconsistent that is. You've got way too much back here and nowhere near enough right here. You start getting stuff like this in large areas, that membrane is not going to have any on the back of it. It's not going to be stuck. It's going to wrinkle. You're going to have a void. You're going to have to cut it out and repair it. So make sure you're being consistent. And you're going to end up going over every area a couple of times as you're squeegeeing out, and you know, which will help make it more uniform. What we've talked about also is heat welding the laps versus doing the cold process on the laps. That's going to make it a lot easier for you guys. Thank you later. It makes for a much cleaner job. And it honestly goes a lot faster than trying to smear. Okay, again, this is the back of the sheet. We don't care if you get it dirty, but make sure you pay attention to what you're doing and you don't step on that. You see how it's pretty hard to work and push. Again, what I see a lot of guys want to do is want to stand up straight and then they're fighting it, and this squeegee is going to wear out. As you're pushing it across this sanded surface, you're actually wearing the teeth of the grooves are getting shallow because the teeth are getting worn out on the high brush sanded surface. So give yourself room to walk around and work. It's not the easiest thing to pull when it's
cold.
Real cold like this, but it can be done.
Tom, this reminds me of that water-based swimming pool move. Huh?
You can see how I'm pushing the membrane. That's not going to apply to you guys' inner ply because you're going over a cover board. But you see how important it is to have this stuff relaxed and properly fastened if you were going over an inner ply doing your cap sheet. So get all the lighter areas. And again, when this is warm, as the day progresses, you'll see a huge difference in how easy it is to smear this stuff around. And work your way over the laps. And if you have excess, just push it right up towards the lap there. Because when you fold this stuff in to the adhesive and then pull it back, you can pull past it. Yep. and it's, again, not real easy when this stuff's cold. And it happens pretty quickly. The EF, within, it takes up to 24 hours depending on the temperature to fully cure, and it actually forms another layer of membrane. This stuff can take as much as 21 days. Okay, so here's the real important part. Lay up the whole roof area that you want to do every day. You don't want to do one sheet at a time, because again, I'm keeping everything under this clean by doing all of it. You're going to gently roll it in. And you can use a broom for the initial tack, but a broom is not enough. And if it's real warm, you want to be careful about walking on it. Just like torch, you can put footprints in. You can displace the cold adhesive. Notice also, I'm standing on the sheet. I'm not dragging my feet at all. I'm standing on the sheet to keep it in place. And I'm gently rolling it in. Now this will move around, so don't get too worked up about, being perfectly centered and online and all that stuff. Now, what a nice clean work area with working with a dirty, ugly, nasty product. When you pull the sheets back, you want to see that adhesive completely saturated onto the membrane that you just rolled into it. Now, as you can see there, it's not. It's pretty good, but it's not complete because we haven't rolled it in. What's that?
So do we go back further then, or do we go?
No, because this is all going to get rolled in.
Do you have one of those drum rollers?
Yep. You can use that. That's absolutely fine. This side, this did a little bit better, but look at the big gaps right there. I walked a job last year, and the product sucks. It's not working. All right, let's cut it open. That's what I saw. No adhesive. It's your fault. Make sure you roll it in. They didn't have any rollers. They said, "What do we do?" I said, "Get down on your hands and knees. Whatever it takes, get it rubbed in so it works." Okay, I showed you. Now you guys have to play with it.
Yeah.
Who's the first victim? And the more you work with it, the more used to you'll get about how much you need to pour out. Again, you guys are going to be working in a larger area, so it's easier. You're going to use at least a bucket at a time. But you want to be real careful, especially when you're doing the cap sheet. If this is all you've got left in the corner of the roof, don't pour out half the bucket, because then you're going to be sitting there scooping it up back into the bucket.
Yeah, so I was pretty sure I didn't get in there, but I didn't get too much.
Yeah, that's good. You notice how it's easier to push than it is to pull. Yeah. And it's not fun working with it when it's cold, is it? This is the place to learn.
So you're saying lay everything out, right?
Yep.
And then, so say we're doing 20 squares, we open up half of the whole 20?
Yeah, fold back as much as you can onto itself, squeegee the whole thing out, and start laying the membrane into it. And everything stays nice and clean. It's easy to control the flow of work when you're doing it. Like I said, you can do it when you're stacking rolls and having the stagger, and guys, it's just, honestly, it doesn't work out. I've tried.
Well, this is as fast as it goes.
Well, that's because the adhesive's cold. Normally, so Tommy'd be getting his Benzec screwed down, getting the membrane laid out, letting it relax while the adhesive is warm. But this is why I wanted to do this. This is a good example. This is why you have to warm the adhesive up. You're not going to waste it, and your production's going to go up. I mean, you can, just like doing an emulsion coat with a squeegee.
The cleaning lady, this will probably punch you down.
Flat roofer now?
And if you want to have a guy, I mean, if you're going around, tight angles and pipes and stuff, have a guy pre-scrape it with the trowel. Then it goes, it goes a lot faster as well.
Basically do the detail now.
Yeah. No, you're just tying
Right here is all pretty tight.
careful about pulling and not leaving puddles. I'll try to push.
So right here it's too thick then, right?
No, so this is starting to, I mean, this isn't going to stay ridged up like this. It's going to settle out
Because it's
and be
warming
uniform.
up, so
Yeah.
it's basically self-leveling.
About how many squares per bucket, you think?
I don't,
roughly.
It's, depending on the temperature and the substrate, it's I think 1.5 to 2 gallons per square.
Okay.
It says on the data sheet and on the bucket. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
It's 1.5 to 2 gallons per square.
So I did remember off the top of my head.
That's why on the sales sheet.
And pay attention. I mean, a little bit ran over from, from the last part we did. Okay, and then we broom it to get it, to keep it in place.
Yeah, when that stuff's warm, it wouldn't be that bad.
Once we get everything, once we get all the
Hard things keeping it
goopy, see that?
Slide.
Doing, keep it straight. So we'll get broomed in, we'll get it rolled in.
Well, on the coping cap, you seen that?
Since you guys are going to be heat welding this stuff, it's very important that even after it's all broomed and rolled in, before you weld it, or before you leave, because you can leave this stuff, if you got the right slope and there's no inclement weather, you don't want to weld it the same day, you can leave it with the side laps dry without welding them or without putting adhesive on them. But it's very important that you get right along that edge and roll it in real well. Because that's going to give you your sharp line, block your heat if you want to weld it right away, or it's going to keep it watertight overnight just in case you do get a little sprinkle or something. In that case, you could get a little bit of moisture under the lap, then just make sure you dry it out before you heat weld it. And when I say heat weld, I mean a hot air weld. You got to be very careful when you're doing cold adhesives. A lot of them are flammable. You don't want to, right now, go stick a torch in there and light the whole building on fire. So heat welding's the way to go. It's simpler, it's cleaner, it's much safer. It's a lot faster than doing single ply. And again, now the roof's clean. Just watch your edges so you're not getting, you're not getting yourself dirty or marring the roof up.
Will you have bleed out with this? Can you weld it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys have a certain amount of time that you should wait before you heat weld the glass?
For a torch, minimum 3 days. Yeah. For this stuff, you want to give it, you want to give it at least a couple hours before you start welding. But again, you'll have to lace them out, drop some guys back after you get some squares out, and start welding it up. They're going to start welding the end laps. And we'll do an end lap here. They're going to start welding the end laps up, so it still has room to gas off. And then you can use a robot to just weld the whole thing.
How soon do you put it back?
You have to wait 3 days before you can put the cap sheet on. If you do in fact have the EF adhesive, you just have to wait a day. General rule of thumb for any cold process is 3 days. Let this stuff gas off, and you have to wait a couple days before 2-3 days before you can even walk on this, before you're supposed to walk on it, because this stuff is still setting up. The other adhesive, again, it sets up a lot faster. You don't have to wait as long. So 1 to 3 days. This is base sheet, so it's it's a lot thinner. It's going to weld a lot faster.
And this is what it means different than what you're going to have on the roof.
Yeah, there's a difference between base sheet and base ply. Base ply is thicker. It's the inner ply or actual first ply that goes down.
What temperature should we weld it at?
What's that?
What temperature should we weld it at?
It depends on how warm it is. I always turn it up to 9 or 10 and then just adjust the speed of my weld. It's not single ply. We're not going back and forth. This is a big lap. I did take a 4-inch lap instead of just a 2, just to keep it cleaner. See, and I gotta watch where I put my weight, because even that big sheet is sliding around right now.
So with a 4-inch lap, did you still do heat weld like you would on the membrane?
No. So the standard lap is 3 inches. In that case, you're fine. But if you're getting 4 or more, I'd just wait the 3 days and weld it with a torch. Heat weld it with a torch. Once it's not flammable anymore. Two of them. That's all I'm doing is pulling it back.
And you say about a 1/4 inch away from the edge to push the bleed out.
Yep. And again, with this being a thinner sheet, there's not as much asphalt to actually flow and get your bleed out, but you're still absolutely watertight instantly. You still have bleed out and it still looks good. You're not going to be welding it this soon, so the sheets aren't going to move around as much, but
So on a 50 square job, something like that, would we be better off to go ahead and lay the entire roof off the base or interply and then go back and recap?
absolutely. Then it's much cleaner. You got something running out here like this on this edge, you have time to accommodate for that, clean it up, so you're not kicking cap sheet out, getting all the cold process over it, flopping it around, tracking it everywhere.
That makes it easier for production too. It's
Yeah.
just phased.
Who wants to try it?
So that other 2 inches is not welded or coated by the time then?
No, because you're going to do a 3-inch lap. You can do a 3-inch lap at that without having any voids in there or anything. Now stop for a second. So the reason that happened is the heat where I stopped transferred up through the sheet. So when he started, the SBS stuck to the neoprene roller. This is why I use neoprene rollers. You can just clean them right off. I see guys use metal rollers as well. That's fine, but they're a lot tougher to clean off. Just start back a little bit so we don't. And keep that in mind when you guys are, out in the field welding this stuff up. Yeah, give yourself a little room between the. But keep it in mind if you've got to start and stop, that heat's transferring through the sheet, and you could mar it, like if you're doing an end lap on the cap.
Faster then?
Yeah, if you do a start and stop, you have to just readjust. Just make sure you hurry up, get back in there, and keep going before the heat transfers through, and that way you don't damage the sheet. So pre-warming the membrane before you're actually rolling it in.
Maybe too far.
Yeah, we'll do an end lap. It's just like single ply. Once you get your end lap in there, you take a piece of cardboard, weld your end lap up all the way to the edge. Then you can start your robot, at the start of the lap and run right through the end lap and everything.
You're running the robot that you go through and tack it so you don't get wrinkles.
Well, that's the point of rolling in. That you're only doing a 3-inch lap, and you're going to pre-roll this edge, so it'll block the heat. And stop and clean off your roller so you don't just keep smearing it around.